We are live. We are live. Happy Memorial Day. Thank you to all those who have served our nation, our country. Thank you for the sacrifices. We appreciate you all. Thank you. God bless. Peek around the corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. Come on in. Come on in if you need just a little bit of extra college football content to get you through the days, to get you through the nights. Subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Share it with your psychiatrist, your significant other, your cat, your dog. Everybody, put it out there in social media. Welcome into the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. We, today on Memorial Day, we're setting up the stage. The final stages and setting up the stage for Act 12. That will begin 48 to 72 hours from now. Act 12. What will happen? We think it's going to be full of action. Now, people keep saying, Greg, you're getting scenes and acts all mixed up. There's a lot of scenes within an act. Can't go through all the scenes, don't know what all the scenes are going to be, but Act 12 is going to have a lot of action scenes in it. We believe at Peek Around the Corner. 48 to 72 hours from now, May 29th, June 1st, May 31st. We're going to get into it here at Peek Around the Corner. A lot of this stuff is going to be probably not going to be a long live show. A lot of people are not going to be able to join us for the live show today that normally do because we're celebrating with our family, celebrating this holiday. But later on, you can watch the whole video and I think you'll get a nice little glimpse of what we're seeing here at Peek Around the Corner. Elvia, I see Elvia's there in the chat room. That's my sister-in-law from Mexico. Thank you so much for joining us, Elvia. Appreciate it so very much. Charles M., A. Mac, John Menser, Same James, Robert Perez, New York Grape 87. Richard, West Virginia guys back in the house. Ryan Brooks, Kenner Bowman was the first one in. Thanks for all joining us here. Okay, first of all, I gotta give a sip of a diet, or no sugar. What is it? No sugar, strawberry and cream, Dr. Pepper. Hold on. Try to exit out, Kyle, and come back in. See if that works. Try to exit. Kyle Visser's having problems. Get out, then come back and see if it works. Okay. First of all, we got to thank our sponsor for the live show. Then we're going to dig into it, guys. We're going to dig into it because I know the guys and gals are very, very busy on this Memorial Day. Welcome to Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. We invite you to discover the Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. The clean, hot air roasted coffee produces a smoother, a richer, a healthier coffee that is less bitter and less acidic. Our hot air roasted coffee uses convection heat to loft the beans for a very even heat transfer. The clean, bright taste that people rave about is achieved by roasting the bean quickly and evenly while suspended on a bed of hot air. From craft to cup, hand-picked coffee beans, the smoothest coffee the Little General, Maria Hernandez Garcia Flugar has ever had. Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters difference. Order your bag today. Go into the link provided in the description box. And if you want to support this channel in doing so, put PATC in the comment section at their website. We thank you so very much. Go to our merchandise store. The new t-shirts are possibly will get posted later today or tomorrow. New t-shirts, new logos, new artwork. Should be pretty fun to see. And again, as always, Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger, Cloak and Dagger. Holy smokes. Okay, we're going to learn a lot here. We have a stick or go situation. Act 12, some changes to our prior live show. That's okay. There's a lot of new people to our channel. So I'll try to catch you up here in the PATC community, Peek Around the Corner community. We have our very own theater. We also have our very own sports book. The community, this PATC community, is going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We're going to put other things into this community so we can talk about college football. It's my way of being able to give you a peek around the corner without destroying the story, without sacrificing sources, without getting to where I get in trouble. Okay? Look, and I know people are frustrated at me. They're saying, Greg, you're being too vague. Well, I was very specific through the springtime of 2022 about what was going on between USC and the Big Ten. And we weren't believed at that point either. So now we're going more vague and we're putting things in a theater context and people are still not believing. So I'm going to give you some dates. I've given those dates before, but let's get out. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. 20 seconds to get out your pad of paper. 20 seconds to get out your pen or pencil. 20 seconds. And then I'm going to give you some dates. So when this story concludes one way or the other. Act 12. The story will come out and you'll see that Peek Around the Corner was able to give you the best information possible during this whole saga. Okay, you've had your chance. Look, first weekend in May. First weekend in May, there was a hot bubble of action. Again, can't give the details. Will the details come out? Yes, most definitely. Probably in the next 48 to 72 hours. The first weekend in May was a shot to the solar plexus of the Pac-12, even though they were not aware of it. But yet they survived the shot to the solar plexus, hanging by a thread. But something happened in that first weekend in May. Then May 24th, we had a situation that happened. And now on May 31st, we're going to get the basically what I would call the twin sister of what happened on May 24th. So put down those dates. May 24th, May 24th, 4th, May 31st, and then the first weekend of May. So when this story breaks, you know, you can look and see what, you can come back to us and we'll talk about it. Look, I can't get into details, but Act 12, we're going to try to explain it in the theater. Act 12, we still have Colorado in the middle of the stage with George Kliakoff on one side, Brett Yormark on the other. Arizona in Act 11 was Act 10, was on the edge of the stage. Act 11, they took a couple steps to the middle of the stage. Act 12, we believe, because we're setting this Act 12 up right now, because this is going to start 48 to 72 hours from now. So we're setting it up. That's why we're spending this special day to talk about this. Arizona is about two arm lengths away from Colorado. Arizona's not quite in the middle of the stage. Colorado has it by themselves. Arizona is quite near. In the front row, we still have Oregon and Washington. Sitting there in the front row, in the middle, sits the Fox executive. In Oregon and Washington are still on their phones with the Fox executive right in the middle of those two. Now, down, they're in the middle of the front row by themselves. Oregon, Fox executive, Washington, Oregon and Washington on their phone. At the end of the first row, at the very end, the very last chair, right down the first row, sits Tony Petitti, Big Ten commissioner. He's in the front row, but he's way off in the corner. Hardly anybody knows he's there. He's watching the stage. He's watching who's on the stage. He's watching the actions. When Act 12 begins, who does what. But Tony Petitti has now entered in the PATC Theatre, and he's in the front row, but way on the very last chair, sitting way over there. Now, this theater has 40 rows to it. 40. UConn is in the 38th row. Sitting there, they were taking notes. They're not taking any more notes. They're watching. They're watching to see what happens in front of them, seeing if there's an opportunity. But they're way back in the theater, but they're in the 38th row, done taking notes. They know what is at stake. They know all what's happening. Arizona State, this is beginning of Act 12 now. Arizona State in the late stages of Act 11. Remember Arizona State, they ran up to outside the front foyer, looking through the clear doors, looking through the clear windows. Well, they have entered the building. They have entered the front foyer. They have knocked They ran by the concession stands that are in the front foyer. They have pushed open the big doors. They've ran down on the theater stairs, and they went into row 15. Arizona State ran into row 15, sat down, and they're waving their arms. They're trying to get Arizona's attention. They're waving their arms. That's Arizona State. Utah. Utah has now come where Arizona State was. This is the beginning of Act 12, ladies and gentlemen. This is Act 12. Utah has now gone to, they're still outside the front foyer of our PATC Theatre. They're looking through the front window, the front clear door. That's where they are. They've taken Arizona State spot. They don't know if they're going to walk in or not. And down the block is UNLV. They have a chain in their hands. They have a padlock. Don't know what's going on there with UNLV. They're looking mighty suspicious. They're eyeing Utah. Not sure what's going on there. San Diego State hasn't moved. They're in the apartment across the street with their binoculars, trying to see what's going on in front of the theater, trying to peer through those clear glass windows of the theater. That's where we are at here, starting an Act 12 of the theater. That's the best that I can give you without destroying sources or the story. Colorado in the center of the stage. They still occupy the center of the stage. Act 12 is about to begin. 48 to 72 hours from now, as we are speaking. We're speaking here May 29th, 11:35 Central. Okay? 12:35 Eastern Time, p.m. Eastern Time. May 29th. Now, let's get back to the Colorado board meetings of the 30th and the 31st. Our last live show, we talked about it. Yes, we know what the agendas are. Let's show it again here. Let's show it again. Everybody calm down. It might be exactly what they said they were, but however, I just want you to hang with me here. Right? We got the meetings of Tuesday, May 30th. It's up on your screen. We got the meeting of Wednesday, May 31st. It's up on your screen. Special board meeting, executive session only. Now, before we get into more of this is what, if there was going to be some action happening in and around June 1st, we were expecting to see a special board meeting posted for May 30th or May 31st or June 1st. This is what we were expecting to see. Suddenly this popped up. This was broken by Justin Walker of Coos Corner. I think he was the first one to put it out on Twitter. Okay? Then we went into the agenda items for May 30th and May 31st. May 30th, it has a personnel matter, Colorado Systems, a treasurer search. Okay? So they're going to be talking about a treasurer search. No problem. They basically have to talk about that. The rules state, Colorado, public university, they have to post what they're going to discuss at the board, and they can't do an end around to this. This is what they're going to talk about at May 30th meeting. May 31st, it's a duplicate. Right? It's a duplicate. Personal matter, Colorado system. Again, treasurer search. Okay? So we got back-to-back days occupying the same subject. Again, Colorado Board of Regents, they need to talk about the treasurer search on May 31st as well, because they had that posted. In accordance to their rules, regulations, laws, Colorado Board of Regents have to talk about what's actually listed in their agenda. Now, if they're going to talk about anything more in either one of these days, in their special board meeting, they have to post it within 24 hours. So, Tuesday morning, May 30th, we see action item, executive session for regents. Then we see at 11 o'clock adjournment. Now, in the previous Colorado Board of Regents meetings, this really gets filled in with a lot of details. They haven't filled anything in. Again, this is just about a search to fill a position at the University of Colorado. So far. It's not going to be about realignment. It's not going to be about realignment. That's correct. CFB Plus says they can amend the agenda 24 hours prior. That's why I'm bringing this up. Especially in and around May 31st. This is the May 31st. 8 a.m. Call to order. 12:30 p.m. adjournment. So I peek around the corner. We are going to be looking at this throughout the next 24 hours. In the case of May 31st, the next 48 hours, to see if there's any change, especially to the May 31st one. The May 31st agenda items, action item. This is what we're looking at. This is the page. If this changes, if something pops up that says Colorado Pac-12, talking about Pac-12 issues, something to that effect, legal issues, conference issues, that's going to be a great indication of what we're about to see. So keep an eye, especially May 31st, this action item, see if this expands, if this gets filled in with more stuff in it. That's what we're looking at. Because if the Colorado Board of Regents actually discusses something to do with realignment, voting, Pac-12, the issues in and around that, the Big 12, they have to post something here. Even if it's a closed door session, they have to post something here. So let's see if there's a change to this part of the Colorado Board of Regents website and their meetings and their agendas. Okay. All right. So that's what I want to point out. We set the stage. Very, very important next couple days. It's a stick or go situation. Is there a Pac-12 media deal anywhere in sight? That's what's fueling this. That's just that straw that is stirring the drink, is that there's no Pac-12 media deal in sight. So let's get to your comments. Then we're going to get to your phone calls. Basically, it's going to be a phone call show. We have set the stage for Act 12. It is beginning. It is beginning in 48 hours to 72 hours from now, in the middle of May 31st, or at the beginning of June 1st. We'll just say May 31st. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. We believe, we've been saying this since February 24th, we believe that still the chances are minus 5.5 point favorites that the Pac-12 will get poached again. No question about it. Okay. AMAC, I hope Oregon State is in play. Charles M. Why has Rebecca been so quiet? Why has Washington been so quiet? Randy Taylor, thanks, vets. Thank you, vets. No doubt about that. Still need that montage of holy smokes. Colorado, UConn to the Big 12. Anyone else? Arizona State not talking the Pac-12. Hint. Look, UConn is not, they're not in control of their own destiny, obviously. They have to wait to see how the dominoes fall before them. Brett Yormark is focusing on those four corner schools. So everything else is going to have to wait. UConn is in the 38th row. They're waiting. They're seeing how it plays out. We first got to get to what does the character that's in the middle of the stage, what does that character in this saga, in this play, what does he do? Colorado. And then everything will unwind from there. Arizona State has made a big move. They have ran into the theater. They're sitting in the 15th row. They're waving their arms. They're trying to get Arizona's attention. Yes, in 48, 72 hours, Act 12 will begin. And if you want something more definite, just consider May 31st, maybe noontime is the start of Act 12. But right and around there, May 31st, June 1st, Act 12. The stage is set. Someone locked the door. Well, that might be the reason why UNLV has a padlock. We shall see. We'll get more into that possible story. We'll see how what the people near the stage or on the stage, what they're going to do. But this is Action 12. Act 12 is action. That's what we believe at Peek Around the Corner. Now, I know there's a lot of people who says that we don't know what we're talking about. Nothing is going on. I completely understand. Why you would say that. Just hang tight with us and we'll see what happens. Yes, UNLV is walking the streets with a chain and a lock. Nick Kelsel, thanks for coming on in. Appreciate it. Again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. It helps us so much. And share the video with your family and friends if you want to make a small donation to the channel to help us keep the lights on. Hit that $sign. We're an independent YouTube channel. We are the rebel outpost of all college football YouTube channels. We seem to get in most trouble. But join us. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate it. Yeah, there's no question those meetings have to do with the Colorado treasurer. They need to fill that position. It just so happens that they're having a closed door special sessions for both days, and it's going to be a lot easier to add in some agenda items, especially in around that May 31st. That's why we're talking about it. We completely understood. We understood the night that we did the live show when this first came up, that what the subject was going to be about, the search for a treasurer. It just so happens that it works real nice with what else is going on in the background when it comes to realignment. Why is UNLV in the theater? They're not in the theater. Truck stop, Gumpy. UNLV is not in the theater. They're outside the theater. They're outside the theater. They have a chain link. They have a padlock. They're keeping an eye on UNLV. That's what they're doing. Okay, let's get to your phone calls. This is going to be a phone call type of show. Memorial Day. Express what you think is going to happen here in Act 12. Express your thoughts that none of this is happening. Colorado's not even in the middle of the stage. Let me know how you feel. Let me know. Greg, you haven't given us any evidence that Colorado is standing in the middle of the stage. You've given us some dates. I hope you guys wrote down those dates because Jimmy Touchdown, thank you for your super chat. Dude, you're totally full of it. Clickbait. Absolutely. Look. Merchandise sells, clickbaits, absolutely. Thank you for your donation. Jimmy, just write down those dates. First weekend in May, May 24th. And May 31st. Write down those dates and you come back to our show, Jimmy. I appreciate your support. Thank you so very much. Okay. Let's get to the phone calls. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Let it rip. Let it rip. There was a story, Ross Dellinger just came out about 30 minutes ago. Let me see if I can find it. Once again, it looks like the SEC is staying with 8 conference games. ESPN's not going to pay for a 9th game, for a 9th conference game. As of right now, that seems to be where we're at. I'm trying to read the article. It just came out as we were preparing to go live. A high-ranking SEC administrator, I don't see the desire to go to a 9th game and not have any increase from a revenue standpoint. Both SEC and ESPN have a flair for the dramatics. So you never know, but the network's current situation is not conducive for it to be publicly announced at any additional millions of dollars. ESPN is in the midst of rounds of layoffs.
Call from
Larry Pilgrim.
Larry, Mr. Utah man, he's in the house. Thanks for calling, sir.
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Doing good, sir. Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day to you, too. Hey, let me throw something out there, and let me get your feedback. Apple is tier 1, has been, and what's going on is Apple negotiating money with the Pac-12, Fox, and ESPN on the linear, and who will get those.
Okay. That's a scenario that you believe possibly might be happening?
Yeah, I heard from somebody that's kind of what's been going on and why the 3 of the 4 corner schools are not very happy, because they're not in the pecking order. And so you have the prime teams that are valuable to ESPN and Fox, and those are the games they want, and they want them at a discount. And so they will purchase them. So it's a 3-way, well, it's actually a 4-way battle. So that's kind of what I've heard has been going on. And you're not going to hear much from Apple sources because they don't talk.
Yep, they don't leak. They don't leak.
And so when I kind of heard, I went, you can go back 6 months and everything makes complete sense. Everything.
The only, Larry, if I had a put my money on it, if I had to put my money on it, this is mostly speculation on what the Pac-12, what Kleikoff is working on right now, would be Apple TV with the CW, maybe with Fox, but that ESPN part of it, we completely, and I know this upsets a lot of people, but we have reasons to believe that Dennis Dodd's reporting was absolutely 100% correct. We don't think ESPN is going to play any part of the new Pac-12, whatever, the 10 schools that remain, all of them, or some sort of different composition of the Pac-12. We don't think ESPN is playing any part of it.
Correct. Which, yeah, I agree, and that's been from day one. That's been from day one. From what I kind of understood a while ago, and I thought it was actually happening, and I kind of was told. Apple came in with a very nice price, and is one of the big reasons why Kleikoff thought he could get what he was going to get, or thought he could get what he could get, is because Apple put a price on the table that was very good.
Okay.
And so Kleikoff went into negotiations with the lower hand, and ESPN knew it, and they called his bluff, and it pissed him off. So
okay.
Yeah.
I don't. It could be. I don't know anything. I mean, the Apple TV thing is sort of, as you said, Larry, as you started the call off, is that they don't talk, they don't leak. You can tell other reporters out there, they're not getting any information. If George Kleikoff pulls a rabbit out of his hat, Larry, it has to do with Apple TV coming in at a good price, being able to. They would be willing to sublicense just enough linear to linear networks to satisfy some of those Pac-12 presidents. So I think you're onto the, I think that's the rabbit that's in the hat.
That's the rabbit, the CW, the ION, the USA, all of those. You have to. You're going to please Oregon and Washington and Utah and possibly Stanford with the ESPN Fox. Those are the games they want. And those teams want to be on those, but now you've got to satisfy the Arizonas, the Colorados, everybody else. You've got to stick them somewhere. And so he's been trying to satisfy, let's call it tier 2.
I got it. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's where we're at, where it goes, and it's still, the Big Ten has always and will be the only thing that can destroy the Pac-10. It's not the Big 12. Because the money, and they can get some exposure, and there's no guarantee on your exposure in the Big 12. They have an allotment of games, and now you've got 12 teams. There's only so many windows even for them.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee you're going to get linear, views even in the Big 12. So it's correct. You're correct in talking about the Big Ten is the only one that can finish them off.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Finish them off, yes. But if there is a next poaching of the Pac-12, first of all, I don't think it has to happen. Big 12 has to be the one doing it. Big 10. And I don't think there will be the ones doing it. When I'm talking about Colorado middle of the stage, and I have two people next to him, Kleikoff and Brett Yormark, that's where I'm going with it. I think that is, without a question of a doubt, that's the stick or go situation that we are now in. Without me, that is where we're at. That's where, peek around the corner, that's where we're 100% focused. And whatever Colorado decides, Larry, stick or go, stick with the Pac-12 or go, then, and we're going to know that soon. That's what we believe, Larry. I mean soon. I mean talking about soon.
Oh yeah.
This is
Yeah, we're going to see within 2 weeks everything's
not
coming
2
out.
weeks. Much sooner. Much sooner. We're talking Act 12. We're talking soon, Larry. And then when that happens, stick or go. Then other things are going to, other ripple effects, other things get created after this. But there's now people don't believe me. That's fine. I get it. But I just want to make clear what we're saying, Larry.
Right.
Colorado's in the middle of the stage. No one else is in the middle of the stage with them. I just want to make that perfectly clear. Okay.
Yep.
And Cleocoff is next, and Yormark is next to him. Not Petiti's in the first row, but he's way out in the sides. That's the only way I can put it.
Correct. Yeah, because Oregon and Washington, with the new deal that's kind of been talked about, Oregon and Washington will get plenty of coin, and they will have exposure with what's been on the table. And you have a few teams that are not happy. And you also, like you said, you have the instability of Washington and Oregon honestly looking to exit given the first moment.
Yeah. And
so
that theory makes a lot of sense. If it's
it's not a theory. It's what's been happening, Greg.
Okay. Well, if there's a deal, if Apple TV has a deal out there, a lot of money, there's some linear networks that they could sublicense Pac-12 content to, and this satisfies Oregon and Washington, but the Four Corner schools are not quite satisfied because they're having issues with the exposure part of that. That's what you're saying, right?
Correct.
Okay, I understand that because look, in the Big Ten, if they would expand with Oregon and Washington, how does that affect the exposure of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the Purdue Boilermakers, right?
Illinois.
So that's what I get it. I get that. I just, from everybody I've talked to at Peek Around the Corner, we haven't heard that that's the issue. What we've heard is there's no deal. There's no deal that's been put, and we've been saying this for months. We haven't come out here and said, oh, there's a deal, possible deal, 20 million, 25 million, da da da. We've said there's no deal, period. So that's what we believe. But again, we could be wrong. Maybe there's a rabbit in that hat, and they're working on those final pieces to get Arizona State.
Apple did, from what I've heard, Apple did put a number in front of the Pac-12 a long time ago. The number's been there. You're not going to hear about the number.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's pretty locked down.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for the call, Larry. Appreciate you always calling. Thank you so much, Utah man.
You bet, buddy.
Thank you.
Hey, bye.
Great call. He says it's not a theory. A theory, excuse me. Great call by Mr. Pilgrim.
Call from
Kansas State fan.
Kansas State fan is on the line. The floor is yours.
Well, hello, Mr. Flugar. How are you doing on this fine day?
I'm doing good. Happy Memorial Day. Doing great.
It's always a great day. So I missed the first part of the show because the baseball selection show was on. And,
sure.
All that jazz.
Yeah, well, us Gophers don't have to worry about that, so we put the live show on now. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said it was around like 48 to 72 hours where we might see some
let's just Act 12 begins.
Okay.
We're moving into a different phase. Let me make it more clear for everybody. We're moving it. You remember when Act 10 ended a couple weeks ago, we said that Act 11 would last a couple weeks. And then Act 12 would begin around June 1st or a day before. We said that a couple weeks ago. Okay? We didn't just say it now. We said it a couple weeks ago. So now we're getting there, right? It's May 29th. And, if you want just to simplify everything, let's just say May 31st at noon, wherever you are, that's when Act 12 begins. Now, how long does Act 12 go? I think it's going to be shorter than Act 11. Act 11 went 2 weeks. I think Act 12 is going to be a lot of a lot of drama in Act 12. Act 11 was basically people positioning themselves, a lot of people talking. Act 12, we think there's going to be a lot of moving, a lot of character moving in off the stage. Some characters putting on a new outfit, stuff like that.
Okay, so it's kind of like a story arc that's tending to heat up a little more.
Yes, I would say yes.
So, from what I've seen in the past, along with the likes of Oklahoma, Texas, USC, UCLA making their moves, that's always occurred by late June. Are we expected to hear an announcement coming out of some of these moves in regards to the Four Corners by the next 2 or 3 days, or are we expected to hear by around the end of June about what could likely occur?
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna try to make this as clear as possible from a PATC perspective, from what we've heard. Okay? We believe that this is a stick or go situation for the main player that's in the middle of the stage. And if it is a stick, if a Colorado should stick to the Pac-12, if there is no movement, if there is no realignment early in Act 12, then we're going to see repercussions of that. Or we're going to see some movement, some realignment, and there's going to be major repercussions in regards to that. And we believe at Peek Around the Corner, there will be a poaching taking place. So you can kind of see where we're coming from. We think we have reasons to believe. Now, these are humans making humans decisions, right? But we have enough information. We have a lot of information that is telling us everything is leading up to we definitely have a stick or go situation. And you missed the first part of this call, so I want to make this perfectly clear to everybody. The first weekend of May 24th, May 31st, those are the dates you want to circle. Because when the story comes out, regardless if it's stick or go, those are the days that are going to be talked about. I'm going to talk about them in detail when the story hits. Other people are going to write big, great stuff. I don't do a column. I just do Peek Around the Corner, Flug Empire.
So you have...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go
ahead. Go ahead.
So is Colorado still in the middle in regards to the whole... In regards to being on the stage, Colorado...
Yes.
Is Arizona now in the mix as well?
What was that?
Are the Arizona schools in the mix as well?
Okay, so I'll go over it real quick again. But again, I know people, the Memorial Day, people are coming in and out. So you can watch the whole video later today when you're eating the cold barbecue chicken. Look, Act 12, beginning, let's say noon, May 31st. Now, if it happens before then, people are going to say, Greg, you got it wrong. Okay, that's fine. In and around June 1st, May 31st, you get my point, right? Middle of the stage, Colorado. About a couple arm lengths away from Colorado sits Arizona. And next to Colorado and Arizona is George Kliakoff and Brett Yormark. In the front row sits Oregon and Washington with the Fox executive in the middle of them, sitting in the middle of those two. And down in the first row, there's a change. All the way down to the very end of the first row, sitting alone in a chair, is the Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti. In the 38th row is UConn. They're done taking notes. They're going to watch the action. They're going to see how this plays out. Arizona State came crashing through those front doors of the foyer, ran past the concession stands, pushed open the big two doors that are of the theater, and ran and sat in the 15th row. Arizona State sat in the 15th row of a 40-row theater and is waving their arms, trying to get Arizona's attention. Outside of the theater, Utah has now moved up to where Arizona State was. Utah is looking through the clear door, looking through the clear windows. They're outside, but now they're getting more and more antsy. And then maybe a half a block away is UNLV. They have a chain link fence, a chain with a padlock on it. And they're eyeing Utah. And San Diego State is still across the street in the apartment complex with binoculars looking at the PATC Theatre. That's where we're at. Now, at Act 12, that is where we are at. That's the best way I can describe it.
That is a great way to describe it. I can kind of think geographically like where everything aligns. So you laid that out perfectly. So
Thank you.
Anyways, I'll let you get back to your calls. My apologies again.
No problem.
I will make sure to tune in a lot more earlier so as I can hear you say Cloak and Dagger earlier.
No problem. Thank you.
Appreciate all the hard work you do, and have a great Memorial Day.
Appreciate it. You too.
Call from
Immaculate.
Brian is in the house. The floor is yours, but can you just wait one moment, please?
Sure can.
I got is it Swam or Swam, or how do you say his name? The gentleman from Oklahoma. Swam? Swam posted Louisville to the Big 12 today. Huh?
In my head, I say Swain, but it's probably wrong.
Okay, let's just say it's Swaim. I apologize, Swaim, if I get everybody's names wrong. So please don't anybody be offended. I do not know how to talk. So Swaim posted Louisville to the Big 12 today. I have a hard time imagining he posted that. So send me a DM on me. I don't know how to say this, but the ACC story is a big one. But again, I keep having to put the brakes on for everybody. It's not. We're a ways from the next part of that story playing out. So, anyways, Immaculate, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, that's quite interesting that he's saying that Louisville is in an interesting place over there. It's certainly possible. I did want to call him about the PAC stuff, though. When you hear them say certain things, obviously, to a degree, they're just buying time. Would you agree? Like they're just kind of saying these things, going through the motions.
Who's buying time?
ADs, presidents from the PAC, when they're making these statements.
I think, well, a lot of them haven't been making any statements lately. We know that Rick George did, and the words he used was quite telling. Okay, so the story has always been Immaculate, right? The story's always been that the Pac-12 has not been able to get a deal, right? If they would have gotten a deal, the Pac-12 would be together. Those 10 schools they want to play with each other. All of them would choose the Pac-12 right now, the core of the Pac-12, those 10 schools, other than going to the Big 12. And I'm not trying to slight the Big 12. That's just what we've said from the beginning. It's absolutely true. But the story has always been they haven't gotten a deal. And you know what? I don't think they're close to getting a deal right now. I don't think they're anywhere close to the deal. I think right now the Pac-12, it's why one of the reasons that Act 12 is beginning real soon here. Because what is steering the drink is, the straw that is steering the drink is there's no deal in sight. That's what we believe at Peek Around the Corner. If you believe that the Pac-12 is within a week of seeing a good deal, then you know what? Act 12 isn't starting right now. But I think Colorado knows there's no deal in sight. So go ahead, Immaculate.
I agree. I think there's been no deal in sight for a long time. There's been all this talk about deals going on. Certainly there's been talk going on there. And I don't think anyone's willing to give them a deal that they could look at and say, this makes us look good. Like whatever is offered is going to make them look bad. Otherwise they would take it. They would have said, we've got this deal in place. We're going to do this. But they're just allowing this story to go on. There's no positive spin to this for them to allow this to go on. The one person who has said nothing is the commissioner, which tells me he doesn't have a whole lot. So the ones who are doing the talking, the ones who are talking about being united, which should be what the commissioner is saying, he should be out there in front. You don't see a whole lot coming from Big 12. You see your Mark making talk. You haven't seen anything from him. So I don't think he has anything to provide to the conversation. So when you talk about presidents and ADs and such saying, oh, we're united as ever, we're as united as ever, I don't think it has to do with getting a PAC deal. I think it has to do with making sure that there isn't anyone left behind that just gets decimated.
Yeah.
I do think that they care about their conference and they care about fellow schools. They've been together for a long time. There's a lot of personal relationships there. And there's a lot of cross-institutional cooperation, even though it's not mandated by anything like it is in the Big Ten. So I think when they're saying we're united as ever, that they're saying you're not going to get us to split apart. You're not going to get a couple of us to take the full bag while everyone else gets screwed on the back end and comes in for halves or minus. So I think they've basically been treading water saying, we know you need this to happen sooner rather than later. By you, the networks, Big Ten, the SEC, they want this to happen. 2026, you've touched upon it. There is a timeline. They do have to push this. So these PAC schools are playing this game of being united and saying, if we stick together on this, we can all get a deal. And that's what I've been saying from the beginning. I actually think the Big 12 and the Big 10 are, for the most part, going to split the PAC. I still don't think Stanford wants in, but they might come in if they can't get something else figured out. I've touched upon just one possibility, but we won't go into that. But that's the way I think it's going. That's why Colorado and Arizona are plugging this up, and some other schools said they're not interested. They all know Oregon and Washington are going eventually. It's just a matter of let's get everyone a spot.
And let me just bring out. I mentioned this on the last live show or the previous one, but the last couple ones. But the other reason, there's multiple. There's some reasons when it comes out why we've been on this June. Okay, let me back up. When this story, this stick or go situation from Colorado, when this thing breaks, people are going to understand why we were talking about the hot bubble of action between April 28th and May 17th. And then it happened right in the middle of that range. People are going to understand why we were talking about May 24th and then now May 31st. People are going to understand why we brought up those dates in real time, right? When it was happening. Another factor that is playing into this June 1st, this Act 12, why it's starting right now is, and we've talked about this before, Brett Yormark is gently but consistently starting to use leverage, trying to close on a deal. And we believe that there may be, well, not maybe, but there could be some potential of Your Mark saying to potential expansion candidates, Your Mark very well likely is saying, if you come in on such a date, everything is guaranteed. The spot is yours. The money's yours. Bam, 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 bam. Anything after that, we'd probably still be interested in you as a candidate, but nothing is guaranteed. So I'm going to put that out there as well. Take it as however you want it, but that's another potential significant reason why Act 12 in the PATC Theatre is happening May 31st, June 1st.
I think that makes sense, and I would say Yormark is probably not acting at the behest of the networks, but acting with him, and he's kind of the front person of that. They've decided to work with the Big 12, largely because of him, in my opinion. He's one of these guys that instead of sitting on the back of the truck and looking backwards at where they're leaving and what they're leaving behind, he's sitting in the front seat looking forward and just really kind of considering about what can we do in the future to make this conference better. And that's exactly who the Big 12 needs. He's not just coming up with his own ideas. Like, part of what he's taken, that idea about East Coast basketball schools, that actually comes from the ACC. That's like one of their, that's their kind of their fallback plan. Like, if we lose any schools, we pull in a bunch of East Coast basketball schools and kind of build up our basketball brand that way. And he's talking about just taking all of these plans that are out there. The Mexico thing, that was a lot of came from the PAC initially. They just never really followed up on it. He's taken everyone's plans and he's instituting them. So I think to the networks, he looks like a guy who's going to make them content. He's going to make them news. And so they're going to work with him. And if he's out there, like I saw first time UConn when he was coming out, I was like, yeah, that's no negotiation tactic right there. Not that they won't take them eventually, but it's pressure. It's, okay, guys, we will eventually move on. I think that there's an offer out there, and I don't think it's just for Colorado and Arizona, but I think if Colorado and Arizona go first, then the others get to say, there's nothing else we can do, we have to go. Like, they have that fallback, because this isn't what they want to do, but it's what they have to do. So that's my thought on it, basically. You'll probably see a large amount of movement. I'm curious, if you're saying this here in the next few days, I'll have my eyes open.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Immaculate. Great call.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Call from
Soap is on the line. The floor is yours, good sir.
I hope you're enjoying the holiday, Greg.
Yes, I am.
Thanks to all those who served our country. And
Absolutely.
I might say I lost an uncle who was killed on Okinawa on Memorial Day, May 30th, 1945. He was a colonel who had just led his troops to capture Shuri Hill, which was a very famous battle. And we never say in our family Happy Memorial Day. We always wish everybody to enjoy their holiday. But anyway,
good point.
God bless Uncle Monk and everybody else who's lost.
God bless.
Okay, here's my script. For Act 12.
Okay, let's hear it. Script, Act 12 from Soap. Let's go.
Act 12. Yeah, this is Soap's script. First, a change in the agenda for the Thursday meeting to put in just something to discuss, as you mentioned, Pac-12, or movement, or just
Wednesday meeting. Wednesday's
meeting. I'm terribly sorry. I'm getting my days. Wednesday's meeting, right?
Got it.
And then a leak to somebody, maybe Dennis Dodd would be the one who would say that line item is actually a discussion on voting to present a measure in a public forum to vote. At that time, the manure hits the fan. And what I think you're going to see is when they talk about the reasoning for it, I think you might see Colorado throw the Pac-10 under the bus. They might sit there. I could see them saying, "Hey, look, we made a mistake when we got into the Big Ten. We're going back to the Pac-12, back home, and we were promised all these benefits from the Pac-12 network that never came through. There's been terrible management of the conference from the deal in San Francisco with the home office, and then the overpayment, or I guess overpayments from Comcast. It's been terribly disorganized and run improperly. Everybody agrees that Washington and Oregon are going to depart first chance they get. So this is a sinking ship, and that they'll bring in, as you mentioned earlier, and we talked about before, this possible time element where they would say something to the effect that we can guarantee we will be a full pro rata member of the Pac-12 if we leave now, and we need to do it now because we need to ensure that we can get in by 2024. And that's going to bring into play this time element and financial element of being a full pro rata member and having sufficient time to get into the conference for the 2024 season. That could be the catalyst to move the Arizona schools and possibly Utah. But once they, because I think the other side of the coin would be everybody, stabs Colorado in the back, and you say we didn't need Colorado to begin with. But I don't think they can get a deal, Greg. I don't think anybody's going to sign a deal with them when they don't know who's going to be in the conference. I think that's the main problem there. Is, who's actually going to hang around? Nobody wants to give their grant of rights, not knowing who's going to be in the conference. So, Greg, there we go, buddy. That's Soap's script for it. I think it starts with a change to the schedule on Wednesday. What do you think?
The only thing I'll add before I let you go, the only thing I'll add on that is if it happens, if this thing happens, if Colorado decides to make a realignment change, Big 12 expands, how do I say this? I don't know if this would happen before or after the change in the Colorado Border Region's agenda item. But how this leaks, how this breaks is, and we're going to peek around the corner, is going to cover the breaking story. We're not going to break it. We don't have the ability to break it because we do not have the, we're not going to have that intel, that connection. But how this really goes, how this really breaks, is when Colorado officially asks for the application. Once they do that, then this thing goes, we go live, and we talk about everything we know. I think, but now, does that happen?
That's going to be the first step, is they ask for the application.
No, that's when this, I'm not saying that's, I'm saying that's when this thing breaks nationally. That's when it happens.
Right.
I don't know if that's before or after this meeting or anything like that. I think that's when it really that's when it really hits. That's when it happens. It's asking for the application.
Thanks for your time, buddy. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great call, Soap. Greg, where's the Arizona State money perch? Does he know what's going on? He knows some things, but he's very frustrated. He's very frustrated. That's all we can say. There's a reason why Arizona now has crashed through the front foyer into the theater, into the auditorium, and they have taken a seat in the 15th row, and they're trying to get Arizona's attention. So we believe we're painting a pretty accurate picture on that. Just a lot of frustration in and around the donors and people supporting Arizona State. And that's all about we can say on that. A lot of great comments in the comments section. Again, we were talking about before the last few phone calls, Ross Dillinger's article on SI talking about how ESPN, they're playing hardball with SEC, or they're just not talking about it right now, giving the SEC more money until all these negative stories of ESPN layoffs, until they all are finished with all of that. And then maybe it's reported that ESPN's going to give more dollars to the SEC to get a 9th conference game on their schedule. It doesn't sound like SEC is willing to go to a 9th conference game without more money coming from ESPN. So it looks like it's going to be an 8-game schedule. They're going to stick with that 8 conference game schedule for the SEC. And as a fan of college football, I do not like it. I do not like it at all. So, but it looks like that's where we're heading. And of course, if the SEC stays with 8 conference games, Big Ten is not going to go to 10. They're not going to go from 9 to 10. No way, no how. T-Duck, maybe George Klikoff has something up his sleeve, an Apple deal worth $30 million to school. Well, he better deliver that in front of the Pac-12 presidents real soon. Like right now, during Memorial Day, he better present that. Larry Pilgrim, more depending on the sub-licensing. What percent is linear? Again, a peek around the corner, we've heard nothing of this, but we'll see. We shall see. We shall see. Immaculate says Colorado offers something that no other school in the Pac offers the Big Ten. Colorado offers, they're connected to the states, they're big school, research university. But that's not going to happen anytime soon. So Colorado offers the Big 12 something. They offer the value of being the first school to jump. That's the big value that Colorado... Yeah, they're biggest school in the state. Decent brand. Very poor football lately. Big research university. They have a history with Big 12 schools. They bring value, no question about it. But the highest value they bring to the Big 12 is that they would be, if they choose to be, their first school to go to the Big 12. Once they lose that, if they lose that, they lose a lot of the value to the Big 12. If somebody comes out and jumps first, we don't think that's going to happen. That's going to take away Colorado's value to the Big 12, but we don't think that's going to happen. Colorado's definitely in the middle of the stage, according to everything we have heard at Peek Around the Corner. As you can tell, we're not zigzagging in this story, in the PATC Theatre. It's been pretty consistent. It's been building up. Hot bubble of action. Stuff happened May 24th. Big stuff happened in the first weekend of May. Building up until this start of Act 12, which we talked about 2 weeks ago. We're not just bringing that up right now. Act 12 beginning May 31st, June 1st. A lot of drama. Cloak and Dagger, Cloak and Dagger, Cloak and Dagger. We believe at Peek Around the Corner there's going to be a little less Cloak and a lot more Dagger coming into an Act 12 of peek around the corner. Yeah, I understand you. I get it, Brian. No problem. Got it. I'm not saying Colorado goes to the Big Ten first. They go to the Big 12 first. I'm just saying that they may not find their final landing spot in the Big 12. Understood. Greg, please address any conversations you have had with BTM where Utah has been mentioned. My guess is few of any. In regards to what? The Big 12 or the Big 10? In the Big 10, it's very few. I tell you what, though, we've heard more about Utah than University of California, Berkeley. We've said that over and over again. We have no steam, nothing on California. We know that's been reported elsewhere. It makes sense. It's logical. I'm just telling you from the information from the perch that we get information from. We've heard nothing on University of California. We've heard a tiny bit on Utah. We've brought that up before. Everybody's saying if there's four more Pac-12 schools that goes to the Big Ten, it's Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and California. We believe it's Oregon, Washington, Stanford, and blank. We do not know. We're not at that point, and a lot of that would be speculation on my part. I want to make sure I'm not mixing up speculation with intel at this moment. So we'll just leave it at that. But we do believe, we've been saying this, I think we've been on this harder than anybody else out there. Big Ten is going to expand at some point back to the Pacific Coast.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Mr. Flugar, happy Memorial Day, and
Yep.
happy Memorial Day to everybody, and thank you to all our veterans and current servicemen and women. I want to I want to kill the rabbit in the hat, Craig. I want to remind folks with the Apple TV situation that, and I said this before, and I think there were things coming through, so we didn't really get to discuss this, but Apple having tier 1 or first pick games, Apple needs to drive subscriptions. And if it's subleasing content to ESPN, Fox, or CW, it's effectively making that content free to the general public, which destroys any incentive for people to get in subscriptions or buy Pac-12 season passes or individual games. And also sublicensing the best games. Fox and ESPN is not going to pay more than what it's paying right now, what it's offering right now, and neither is Fox. And they will take the content for pennies on the dollars. But keep in mind, those prime high viewer windows are taken by the SEC, ACC, and Big 12. They're not going to get, the Pac-12 is not going to get a game in those windows and not going to get the money for that, neither will Apple, unless it's a top 10 matchup. And how many times is that going to happen in the season? Maybe once, twice? It's sort of ridiculous to think this. I mean, in the Pac-12 doesn't seem like they're going to expand right now, and that's not a lot of inventory. And I know people say, well, Fox does this with MLS and, blah, 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 blah. But the issue is it's during a time of year where Fox has nothing to show on Saturday, and there's no competition for that window, and MLS has 10 times the games. So this is 15 games in a season. This is 15 games out of like 100-plus games. So, I mean, I think it's sort of, well, more like 200 games, but it's sort of ridiculous. I can see the issue with CW getting, regional tier 2 content, because the way the CW is structured is their affiliates don't have to pick up the content. Like, some don't have to pick up Live Golf. And I don't see the CW affiliates in Florida, I'm sorry, Larry, picking up Pac-12 football. They're just not going to. And so it would be a regional tier 2 component, and then you kind of have a strange situation where your best games would be on Apple, all streaming, and your secondary games, your regional games, would be on the CW, which is kind of funny because how's that going to make Oregon and Washington feel? I think it's a bunch of nonsense, Greg. I think that Apple needs to get subscriptions. They need to, because most of their subscriptions, 2/3 of them are from free T-Mobile 1-year membership, and those expire, and they need to drive that, and they need to get that up. I think the other schools realize it, and the fact that nothing's been leaked about this. I know Apple may not leak, but there's always a possibility. Nothing has been reported by anyone in the mainstream media about them possibly sub-licensing to Fox or ESPN. There's nothing. No credible reporter has said that.
Well, it may be because Apple TV just doesn't leak, and I don't think their executives do leak. So that might be
But Greg,
yeah,
there's 3 parties to that. ESPN and Fox can and do leak, especially if they have the situation where they would essentially be bidding against themselves by participating in this arrangement.
Good point.
I mean,
good point.
It's they're not going to do that, and I think that it's just kind of, I see the CW and Apple, but at the end of the day, I would point out to people that the Pac-12 network carries about half of the conference's inventory, TV inventory. Yet it's only generating $2.5 to $3 million in profit per school. That's terrible, and that's tier 2 content. That is not tier 3 content. Tier 3 content is like volleyball or a game against some FCS or G5 team down the totem pole. I mean, it is essentially tier 2 content, which is regional content, and they're not making money on it. And the production cost on that, I mean, I imagine if Apple gives them money, it's going to say, hey, we'll give this to you, but you've got to pay for the production cost. I mean, Apple's not going to give them any more money to do that. That's sort of, it doesn't make business sense. It'll be the same situation as it has with MLS. And, I think people also have to realize that Apple's going to probably make a lot of that money contingent on how many subscriptions it gets, paid subscriptions it gets. These guys aren't a multi-billion-dollar company because they throw money away. I mean, Amazon and Apple are not 501c3 charitable organizations, Greg. Last I checked. Yeah, they don't pay tax, but that's a different story. But if Amazon's out on this, that kind of explains that, they probably weren't interested in the model or the situation. And I don't think, I think Apple, I don't really see the incentive for them to do that. I'll leave this one thing. I think it's more likely, and I'm just going to put this out there. This is just Ryan's speculation, okay? This is just my guess. But I think it's more likely that Apple doesn't contract with a specific conference. But if you know this, Fox has said that we're not going to do anything with streaming right now. Notice that. You probably heard that a little bit, a few weeks ago. I could totally see Apple and Fox entering into some sort of partnership on streaming to where they could have maybe games available for, a couple bucks after the fact. Maybe some of the, additional things, and maybe work to put some Big Ten network content on there, or just sort of some sort of partnership with that. And, then having Fox kind of do that with the Big Ten and the Big 12 and sort of have more of a national audience appeal. That's a little safer of an economic bet for Apple, in my opinion, and I think that's what I would pursue. But anyway, those are my thoughts. We'll see what happens. It should be interesting. But Greg, thanks for all you do. If you're a carnival barker, Greg, you're probably the best. You're probably the best loyal one there is. So you do a great job, and I appreciate everything you do.
Appreciate it.
I take someone who's humble and who's honest and works hard. I take their words over someone who has PowerPoint slides with stolen IP graphics posted without the company's permission, and someone using a smiley face emoji on their Twitter account. But anyway, thanks, Greg. I'm out.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great call, Ryan. Thanks. I appreciate it. Jeff Fuller, thank you so much for your generosity to the show once again. Super chat. Jeff, great show. Great. Karen at Endeavor pairs me extra this month and asked me to slide you a $20 bonus to keep up your great work in the 12A9 cabal. Long live Brett and Karen. Long live the Big 12. I won't say the last part because I don't want death to the Pac-12. But the rest of it, thank you, Jeff, so very much. Appreciate it, good sir. I tell you. Of all the inaccurate things that have been stated on Twitter and message boards throughout this whole saga is the Endeavor plot. Wow. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your generosity. Larry Pilgrim, Ryan is incorrect. Apple only needs 50% for subscriptions in ESPN and FS1. Late window has value and they will receive at half price. Thank you, Larry, for the super chat, for your generosity. Appreciate you coming in, giving us a lot of good perspective on what's going on at Utah, Pac-12. Appreciate it so very much. A lot of diversity in our chat room. Lots of diversity in our chat room. Thinking different things on what's going on. There was a comment earlier in the chat in regards to, probably lost it. Something about the Four Corners schools. Will they get full, will they get the full, let me see if I can find it here. Here we go. Lorenzo Haynes, thanks for coming on in, Lorenzo. Colorado and Arizona jump. The second Oregon and Washington go to the Big Ten. Every other would be a jumper. Every other would be a jumper, lose value. I think Colorado and Arizona would get full shares. Others won't. If Colorado decides to pull the trigger, if they make that human decision to leave the Pac-12 conference, to leave their peers, the schools they want to play with, to join the Big 12, the stuff that happens next is Arizona. They have a decision to make. That Arizona State, then Utah. The Oregon-Washington thing, I do not. I think everyone has to put their brakes just a little bit on that. But in regards to Colorado, Arizona, Utah, and Utah, Arizona State, I think you can be pretty confident that they will get full membership, full vested membership in the Big 12 if they act soon, if Colorado acts. You guys understand what I'm saying? The pro rata, I think, I really can't get into it, but they know what they're going to, they have the numbers from the Big 12. They have the numbers from the Big 12. So, like what Robin said, Arizona president said weeks ago, we have the Big 12 numbers. Now we just got to get our Pac-12 numbers, and then we can make a business decision. But they still haven't gotten any numbers from the Pac-12. Can you just hold on 1 second here? Hold on. It's a live show, a lot of action going on here. I apologize for that. Just be patient. Okay. Again. Okay. We got new people coming into the chat. We talked about the meetings for 30th and the 31st, Colorado Board of Regents meetings. Again, special board meeting behind closed doors. We know the agendas and what's on the agenda they have to talk about. We know this. Okay? May 30th and May 31st, same agenda. Personal matter at the Colorado Treasurer's Search. Trying to fill in a spot. These are the agenda. This is what we're looking at here. May 30th, from 9 to 11, action item, executive session for Regents. The meeting adjourns at 11. We're waiting to see. We're waiting to see if there's any changes to this May 30th meeting. So far, I don't believe there has been any. This is the big one. May 31st, action item, 8 o'clock to 12:30. No question about it. No question about it. They have to talk about the treasurer position. They have to talk about what is stated in the agenda. Now we're going to wait to see if any other parts of the agenda, if it's added on, if there's anything that's added to this. Is there something that's going to be happening in the afternoon of May 31st? Will they add an agenda item that says something like talking about Pac-12 issues, legal issues, Pac-12 matters, something in that regards? This is what we're looking at. This is what we're watching here at Peek Around the Corner. And again, we have set the stage. Yes, we know. Spitfire, the Dragon TV 11 positive. Yes, we know that. We know. We've been through this over and over again. We understand it. What's in the meeting, the agenda, they have to talk about it. We're talking about the possibility of something being added to the agenda. People understand that? Are people clear with that? Items get added to the agenda. They have 24 hours prior. So we're looking at that May 31st. Just keep an eye on it. That's all we're saying is keep an eye on it. Because there's something else that has happened in May 31st. Something happened May 24th. Something happened in the first week of May. That was a shot to the solar plexus of the Pac-12. We're going to get into all of this. When the stick and go situation happens, Act 12, Colorado's in the middle of the stage. Arizona's 2 arm lengths away from Colorado. Yormark and Kliakoff are also on the stage. The first row consists of Oregon and Washington, with the Fox executives sitting in the middle of them. Oregon and Washington are on their phones. Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, is in the first row, but all the way to the end chair of the first row. In the 15th row is Arizona State. They ran in. They knocked down the doors of the foyer, pushed the big doors into the auditorium. They ran in. They're in the 15th row. They're waving their arms like crazy, trying to get the attention of Arizona. In the 38th row of a 40-row theater is Utah. They're watching. They're going to watch this Act 12. They have to see how it plays out. They're no longer taking any more notes. Outside the theater is Utah looking through the front door window. Utah is looking through the front door window. They're peering in. They're not in the foyer, but they're peering into the foyer. They are where Arizona State was just a few days ago. And down the block is UNLV. They're sitting there with a chain and a padlock. We'll see what's going on there later on. San Diego State is across the street in the apartment with the binoculars on. They're looking at the theater. That is what's going on. We have set the stage for Act 12. It's happening noon May 31st. Okay? Somewhere around that time. It doesn't matter if it's noon Eastern. Noon. It's somewhere in May 31st, June 1st. Act 12 begins. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about it for weeks. We had the hot bubble of action, and now we have Act 12. And all the details of what's happened in the May month, we will be describing it in detail when the story hits. Stick or go. Colorado makes a decision saying it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter how long it takes for George Kliavkoff to get us the deal. It doesn't even matter how bad it is. We're sticking with the Pac-12. If that's the decision Colorado makes, we'll know. We believe we'll know here in Act 12. That's our belief here at Peek Around the Corner. From everything that's been told to us in 6 different ways, Colorado sticks, they're going to stick to the Pac-12. If they're going to stick, it's going to be known here real soon. But if they decide they need to realign themselves back to the Big 12, we're going to know that real soon. Because the deal isn't in front of them. Because they figure the Pac-12 is going to break up here real soon anyways. It's now or never for Colorado. Their window is actually shrinking on for them to make a decision. A lot of things, unique events have been circling around the University of Colorado in the month of May. And we'll be giving those details when the stick or go situation happens. And we think it's going to happen real soon. No, we're not just saying this to get a click or a view. If we were really interested in only that, we'd be spilling out the whole story. But we're not that YouTube channel. We have to protect our sources, our information. We have to protect the story. And if that gets everybody upset with us, that's just how it has to be here at Peek Around the Corner. You've all been very patient. It's been a long saga. We've tried to illustrate it in the best way we know how here to give you a peek around the corner. And pretty soon you're not going to have to just peek. You're going to know what is absolutely in front. So thank you all for joining us here on Memorial Day. Peek Around the Corner. We're going to close it up. It's a shorter show today. We're going to have a lot of live shows here in the next couple of days. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. If you're new to the channel, before you leave, please subscribe to this ever-growing channel. Smash that like button. It helps us with the algorithms of YouTube so much. Smash that like button if you like our content. And share the video with your family and friends. Thank you for the generous donations we've had on the show today. Thanks for the great calls and the comments. We had to shorten it up today here at Peek Around the Corner. But stay with us. Get on Twitter, Flug Empire. We'll give you a heads up on when we're on next. But make sure you subscribe to the channel because you'll get notified of when we pop up. And right now we can pop up at any moment. Brace for impact. Buckle up. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.